area. Away the Nixie team away. Okay, the Nixie team away. Set general quarters. Set general quarters. General quarters, on hand, same map station. General quarters, on hand, same map station.
It's Wednesday.
It is?
It's Wednesday.
It is.
So that must mean it's Belgium? It's time for Sackheads Against Tyranny? Something like that?
It's time to shat yourself.
It's time for the Shat Show. We've tried things a little bit here. If you're watching now on the SHR Media Facebook page, Sackheads Clint tonight decided to move the camera around a little bit to see if he could capture some sort of a different view. And we still have our banner down below. And this is the number 2 show. Okay, wait a minute. Isn't that appropriate if it's the number 2 show
And if it's the
Shat Show?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we can only say that once. Say that it's the Shat Show. I am going to move over here and see if... Oh, we do have some folks in chat already. How nice to see that. We've got Simone in chat already, and we've got Mike in chat already. And today is April the 18th, Wednesday, 2018. And usually around this time in Sacramento, it's getting kind of warm. And it didn't get all that terribly warm today. It was kind of nice. Overcast and about 60.
It's very nice. I hate the heat. I don't like the heat.
Yeah, I hate the heat too, so where the fuck do I live? Yeah, one of the hottest damn places in California, in the Sacramento Valley, known for allergies and heat. Just, boy, that was really smart. Good. Okay, I guess I can blame my parents for that one when they moved here after World War II. Damn you, Mom and Dad. But
you didn't leave. So take some personal take some personal accountability, BZ.
Okay.
You
right.
didn't leave.
Okay. This is the weird ass thing. I used to say about Sacramento that I really liked it because it was so wonderful. It was right in the middle between the Sierra Nevada mountains on the east and the Coast Range and the coast and the ocean on the west. And I had the best of until Sacramento turned into leftist central, basically. Well, excluding L.A. and San Francisco.
Yeah, which is bizarre. Sacramento used to be like a decent place.
Sacramento was a wonderful place. It was a government town where everybody got up early and worked hard and worked at Mather, worked at McClellan, worked downtown for the state. It was a government town, federal or state.
Yep.
And everybody had a good job. Everybody got together. Everybody got along.
And now it's
crap. It's crap.
It's still a government town.
It is a government town.
It's just assistance.
It's just a fucking left-leaning, incredible left-leaning.
No, so they're either left-leaning government employees or they're on government assistance. In which case, it's still a government town.
Yeah.
Either way, there's government money flowing throughout this whole town.
Jesus. And everybody wants more free cheese. Hey, let's see.
The sheriff is good.
Sheriff Scott Jones is a good guy.
Good. The current DA.
The current DA, Ann Schubert. Right?
Yes, Anne Marie Schubert.
Anne Marie Schubert. She's a good egg.
So far.
And can't say so much for the current Sac PD chief.
Nope.
Can't really say that.
Nope.
I think you and I discussed that situation at least a couple of weeks ago, especially during all the riots. And we were talking about this earlier, is, folks, if you think in Sacramento that they aren't riots, but if you think the protests have stopped these days, well, no, they haven't. They've just moved on to other places. Like, what did you say? They moved into the DA's office. They go there.
Yeah, they are still roaming around. They barbecued the other day, I think.
Oh, that's nice to know that they're having a barbecue, and I'm sure they're funded. You know, George Soros is buying them prime rib.
Yes.
And then they're going to the Attorney General's office, right? And
yes.
I'm sure they're gonna try to protest in front of the Attorney General's office. So that if you think that the shite has stopped, well, no, it hasn't. One thing I did want to do tonight is start off the show with this.
I want to say one thing. Somebody's making an appearance.
Appearance?
Somebody's making an appearance.
Well, yes.
Right there. It's our good friend, Sackhead Sean, showing the world exactly what he thinks of our new show Against Tyranny. There he is, folks. Everybody say hi.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, Sean, how are you doing?
Wait a minute.
Look. He's not saying anything, though. That's the smartest he's ever sounded.
So, perfect. I saw the message come in, and I didn't get to it because I wanted to play an audio cut, but apparently, you beat me to it on that. So, hey, Sackhead Sean, great to see that you're in a wonderful mood. Jesus. And I
think so. He was pointing out that that I looked too dark, and being still one of the owners of SHR. Oh, hang on. He's got a clip, but I'm going to listen to it first on break before I play it.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Here. I'm going to play a cut. It's about 1.5 minutes. It's from Ron Reagan.
Okay.
And while I'm doing this, I'm going to kill our mics.
Kill our mics.
And so that you can preview this, because I want everybody to remember this.
He goes, no, play it. No, suckhead. No. How many times have you muted my mic, smartass?
Yeah, and it wasn't your choice either. This wasn't exactly what you wanted to do. Anyway, in the meantime, while Sackhead Clint takes care of that, I'm going to take care of this just as a little bit of a reminder.
Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advance beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. Thank you.
Just a little bit of a reminder of why it is that we are Sackheads and why it is that we're against tyranny. All during the show, the coming shows, I'm going to be playing some cuts from Ronald Reagan because he had some great things to say. And not just from Ronald Reagan.
All right,
Okay.
Sean has something to say. Go ahead and mute my mic.
Okay, it's up. You're good.
Okay, and I'm going to preface this by saying this is not the view of Against Tyranny. This, and I don't know why Sean wants to put this out to our listeners, but I'm going to play what his message is, and I'm only assuming it's to the people out there, because I know he wouldn't say something like this to us, BZ. We've been too close.
Right.
Yeah, no. So I guarantee this is from Sean to I don't know. Maybe he's speaking to the SAC PD chief or to the employees in the. I don't know. Let's hear what Sean has to say.
Okay.
What I said was, "Hey, fuck you guys."
That was it?
That was it.
I was hoping for some really pithy comments, and I was.
He's from Boston.
I was sorely disappointed.
There's no pithiness from Boston.
Good God.
People from Boston, they know how to say
Boston.
they know how to say Red Sox and like F you guys. Like that's pretty much what they say.
Well, and then he's certainly kept up his end of the bargain.
And I love people from Boston.
I like people from Boston as well.
I love them.
In chat, we've got already Mike. Welcome to Mike in chat. Mary Brockman. Mary Brockman.
Mary.
She's in chat.
Hi,
Simone
sweetie.
is in
Simone,
chat.
hello.
And Whiskey Dale is in chat. Now, I want to give props to Whiskey Dale. I should have done this last night, but I didn't. I want to give props to Whiskey Dale because BZ's show is the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And Whiskey Dale happens to
Way to
have...
plug yourself. Are
I
you
know,
kidding me
thank you.
right now?
And I'll be...
How shameless are you?
I know. Really, really damn shameless. And I'll be on tomorrow night.
Jesus.
At the same time that you listen to our show right here, the Sackheads Against Tyranny show, or the Shat show.
The Shat
By the
show.
way, when you engage in chat, I just thought I'd tell everybody that you are engaging in...
Chat.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
We'll be here all night.
You are welcome. Don't answer that.
Okay.
Don't do it.
No?
No, yeah, do it. You got to do
Okay,
it.
all
You know
right.
who it is.
Okay, we'll do it. Hello, mystery caller. Are you there? Mystery...
You know, first of all, you're both from Sacramento, so don't give me the pithiness shit. You guys come. You were born and raised in the most boring state in the union. You all talk like you're on the news. It's horrible.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, what do you mean by you?
Oh,
What is that?
I'd like to
Oh,
refer
I mean
you to.
you people directly.
I'd like to refer you to the EEO policy of SHR Media.
That's right, page 2 in particular.
Yeah,
We don't
I
have.
am-
No, hang
I am
on.
currently.
BZ, we don't have an EEO
I am
policy
currently
page
a
2.
caller.
Oh, yeah. I apologize, mystery caller.
Right, like
For the record, I am a caller right now, not an employee at the moment, so the EEO doesn't apply to me. They have fucking big nose.
Okay, does he have a
Well,
point? Maybe I don't know.
Fortunately, we have the right to refuse service to anybody. So, BZ, go ahead and kill the call.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
hey, jackass! This ain't Starbucks. We're not going to put up with your shit.
Oh.
Oh no, I can march in and just with my bullhorn and say whatever I want.
My God, the thing
I'm
with Starbucks.
friggin' believable.
Yes.
You know, it's funny you should mention that. Folks, Sean is on Facebook, and he left a very salient comment today that I happened to read on Facebook. And you weighed in on Facebook about the situation with the two black guys that went into a Starbucks.
You mean the setup?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
wasn't the timing of all of that interesting?
Weren't there protesters
to-
like literally
ironic-
around the corner
to
waiting?
to make a certain point. But
Yeah.
you, Sean, after you weighed in on that, I was looking at a lot of the comments. And normally when folks go in on Facebook and, you're open, if you're on public, you're open to all sorts of comments from leftists and whatnot. A lot of people weighed in on your comment and said, wow, okay, that is pretty spot on. So what did you happen to say, Sean?
Well, I mean, the long and short of my comment is, hey, listen, first of all, for everyone who's shitting on the cops, that's their job. When you go to a private business, it's just that. It's private. They have the right to refuse service to anybody for any reason.
Bingo.
They have house rules, just like a bar or any other public location. If you violate the rules, you have to leave. And if you refuse to leave, then the police show up and do their job at the request of the business manager, owner, employee to say, hey, you're not welcome here. You need to leave. If you refuse to do so, you will be subject to arrest under trespassing laws. It happens a million times a day in the state, in this country. Every state, their trespassing laws are a little bit different, but I've seen this in the course of my work more times than I can count. And more often than not, the cop that's showing up doesn't want to arrest that guy or that gal for trespassing. They usually just want them to gather their stuff and leave. It's the least of their issues that day. It's a pain in the ass call for them. It's just something that they know, and especially in that situation. Those cops walking in there, as soon as they see that situation, they know it's a no-win situation for them.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
So it's even more so, right, even more so the reason that they're trying to end it without an arrest. Those guys decided to take a stand and prove a point. They have that right to do that. They also have the right to bail after they've been booked for it.
Yeah,
That's just a choice they've made.
Yeah, Sean, and isn't it convenient how quickly the protesters showed up? It's like they were waiting like at the corner with signs.
And how quickly the guy with the camera showed up,
oh,
with the
total
video
setup.
showed up.
Total setup.
Yeah.
100% setup. And Starbucks
funny
is
because
weak for dealing with this. Look, I don't look. Starbucks, they're horrible. How many times do you go into a Starbucks now And Sean, you and I even this whole media idea started at a Starbucks, where you walk in and it literally smells like fecal matter and urine, and the bathroom is where they're showering, and it's just horrible. It's not even. I'm a paying customer.
Am I glad I don't go to Face? Or am I
you're
glad
glad
I
you don't go to Faces?
Starbucks?
Hang on a second. Let's revisit this for a second.
Nobody knows what Faces is.
I'm about to tell them what Faces is. Google Faces Sacramento and then wonder why BZ is going there. Anyways,
I want to know why Faces showed up in BZ's mind, but we'll talk about that in another.
we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in another, especially in terms when we're talking about black guys. But
and submarine races, but that's different.
Right, totally different.
I can't win.
Anywho, let's get back to the weird trespassing thing.
Well, yeah, at most it's a misdemeanor. So are the cops going to go way out of their way to get really stupid in terms of a misdemeanor that they know is not going to go any damn where?
No, they don't want to. No, absolutely not.
So they don't want to get involved in this.
One of the things I brought up in my post, too, is you also don't know the history at that location of Starbucks. Is it a common occurrence where people set up shop and need to be removed? Is that in a high crime, zero tolerance area where everybody goes to jail because they're doing specific enforcement? You don't know anything that led up to that. All you know is some jackass turned on a phone, and it was when the two black guys were being arrested in the Starbucks. But the other thing that nobody's talking about is witnesses said just prior to the video going on, the employee at Starbucks walked up to these guys and said, "Hey, if you're not going to order, you need to go." They said, "We're waiting for somebody, but we want to use the bathroom." And he said, "Well, you're not a paying customer right now. I can't let you use the bathroom." And they got loud and argumentative with the employee, and that's when the police were called. So it wasn't like they walked in, sat down, and the guy called the cops and said, "Oh, my God, there's two black guys here, and I'm afraid." There was an argument that took place while the employee was trying to enforce the rules. Even though Starbucks is going to change that rules, that doesn't matter. That doesn't excuse the fact that at the time those rules were in place, and the employee who got fired, which is ridiculous, was actually doing the right thing.
Yep. And you know what?
Because there are other customers. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that there's other customers there that are who have paid their money, who are trying to enjoy their coffee, sit down, engage in conversation, relax, read the newspaper, the news on the phone, whatever it is they're doing. And these look, and every time something like this happens, and companies bend, or a business bends, or society bends, or the rules are bent to their will just because it's more convenient, is a tick in the wrong direction, and a chip away from the liberty of those of us that actually follow the rules and follow the law. Here you have two individuals who are in clear violation of the trespassing laws, refuse to leave after being asked to do so even by law enforcement, refuse to abide by the rules or the wishes of the business who own that property. And why is everybody the bad guy except for the ones that decide they want to try and break the rules and break the law? Why are rules being changed? It is. And why are rules being changed by this company? Look, I can't believe Starbucks. This wasn't even on our topic board tonight, but
no.
But damn, it's a good conversation.
It's a damn good topic.
Why is it Starbucks is closing their business to engage in training for their employees over this incident, when clearly the two individuals who were arrested were in the wrong? 100%. Starbucks are turning into a freaking homeless shelters in California and many places.
They want to bow down to the masses. They want to bow down to the masses so all the liberals who are on their way to the Earth Day protest can come by and get their super mocha choco lattes and drop the cups all over the protest grounds. And
here's
the thing. What it is.
It's a Seattle-based company. So they definitely are. Yeah, they definitely are a liberal-based company. But I think in doing this, they're alienating.
Wants to close for a day. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, in doing this, they're alienating most of America. Because most of America doesn't think this way or act this way. Can you imagine if white people acted like this?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. what would this be a story?
Of course
if
not.
it was
No.
two white guys,
No.
two Caucasoids walk into a Starbucks and they sit down and we're waiting for somebody and, hey, we need to use the electric winkle chamber. Well, have you purchased anything? Well, no, but we want to pee in your toilet and we want to hang around for a while. Well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to leave. No, we're not leaving. Okay, the cops come in, they either get arrested or they get a cite or whatever the hell happens, and the rest of America doesn't give a flying fuck.
Right.
So the difference, the
Hey,
only
BZ,
single difference about this
I can
is
tell you-
melanin count. Right?
Yes.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, BZ. In a former life, I've been on that call more times than I can count.
Well,
where the
ditto.
white guy refused to leave, and guess what happens? He went to jail.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that happens, and nobody cared. As a matter of fact, I've heard people applauding. So, what happens is
That's because your
they're
pants
just
were
bowing down.
unzipped,
They're just-
Sean.
It's public image. And look, if Starbucks wants to close for some bullshit public
That's
relations
fine.
scam,
Yeah.
yeah, that's up to them. You want to lose $1 billion for the day or whatever it is, that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start losing more money because people are pissed, because you bowed down to something that, by and large, this country, on both sides of the aisle, the vast majority of people aren't agreeing with it.
Well, here's the shitty
And
thing,
that's just
Sean.
the sad fact.
Here's what I don't think most of America pays attention or cares. All they care is if they get their coffee. That's really all I think most people give a shit about.
Except,
And they're not going to for a day.
well, yeah, they won't
Right.
get there for a day, but okay. There are the laws of unintended consequences.
Yes.
And so let's say this particular already, I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm going to play it tomorrow. I don't have it available right here. But a black guy goes into another Starbucks today and says, I want, and outside he's already videoing himself. He's already live on some kind of, I don't know whether he's on
Periscope or
Periscope or
something.
Facebook or whatever the hell he's on. But he says, I'm going to go in there and I want reparations and I'm going to film myself and I'm going to get a free coffee. So black guy walks into Starbucks. There's a little Caucasoid chickie behind the counter, and he says, this place is racist, Starbucks is racist, and I want a free coffee. And she says, yeah, I heard about that. So yeah, okay, here's your free coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Joe,
Because that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, this won't set any precedent or anything like that.
Hey,
So-
what's the definition of
Nope.
what's the definition of robbery?
The taking of another person's property through force or fear.
Yeah, by means of force or fear.
So if you calling somebody a racist and Starbucks is racist and you're racist and this is a racist company, in order to extort or get a free cup of coffee because the barista is in fear of being labeled a racist or in fear of being put on social media or in fear of losing her job, is that what happened here?
Yeah.
Truly, yes, but
Yeah,
again,
it's
go back
also-
to all the DAs. Who is going to prosecute a case like that? Because
Nobody will
because
prosecute
in
a
the
case
court
like
of
this.
public opinion, that's exactly what happened in Starbucks. But again, laws of unintended consequences. If this or any other Starbucks decides that they're not going to do anything about people that come in, the Starbucks all across the fruited plain, at least in major population centers, are going to start looking like the various libraries that in all the population
do now.
centers, where you've got nothing but
BZ,
bums. They
do
They
now.
are. See, I don't go to Starbucks, so I don't know. But if you're saying that that's the way it is,
Sean,
then that's the way it is.
Sean, back
'Cause
me
I-
up on this.
I hate damn
Clint.
coffee.
Yeah.
Hey, Clint, you're 100% right. That's how it is now. But here's the other side of it, too, with that
Well,
guy
then they-
who put
then they
himself
want
on social
more of
media
it.
and forced that girl to give him a coffee.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? You brought up extortion. Okay, we can go with that. I'm going to put you on social media and tell the whole world to destroy your character if you don't give me a cup of coffee. Okay. But here's the other thing. She actively committed a crime known as embezzlement. She had property that was under her control that she gave away without permission against company policy.
And how long is the owner of that particular Starbucks or any owner, how long are they willing to take it up the ass with a white hot piece of rebar in terms of anybody
Very
who
easy.
happens to have dark skin
I can answer that.
walking in and demanding
I can
their
answer that.
free reparation cup of Starbucks?
I can answer that right now.
How long will that go on?
I can answer that right now.
Okay.
A long time, because all they're going to do is increase prices.
Yep. and you and I are going to pay for it. Just
No,
like
I'm not.
People driving.
No, I'm not.
uninsured getting
Fuck
crashes.
Starbucks.
I'm
I
not
absolutely
either.
will not pay for it. Fuck Starbucks. Nope.
I'm not going to pay for it
Hey.
Nope.
because I don't drink coffee. So
Oh, I
couldn't,
drink coffee.
I couldn't care
guys.
less.
I know you're up against the break here in a second, but hey, before we go, congratulations on the show, guys. It's coming out great. Last week's show was great. It's a blast to watch, and I wish you guys all the luck in the world. And of course, I'm still helping out everything I can behind the scenes.
Nope. I know. Appreciate
but
it.
The other thing I want to do is extend my condolences to the Bush family for the loss of Mrs. Bush.
Yep.
She was an amazing woman. Politics aside, she was absolutely incredible. She did a lot of great things for this country and for her family. And, it was George Bush Sr. put out a statement saying, out of all the things, and I don't have the exact quote, but out of everything that I've done in this world that's climbed the highest mountains, the biggest honor I ever had was being married to Barbara. It just speaks volumes for the woman that she was. So my thoughts and prayers to the Bush family and the whole country, really, because we lost a pretty amazing first lady.
We did. She was just after she passed away, I said, you know what she is? She's two words. She is a class act, period.
Yeah.
And the funny thing that I also found in that same, let's see, George H.W. put that tweet out or something like that today in social media. Sean, did you also happen to hear or read what he called her? He called her in the family the enforcer.
Yes.
When I read that, I had to
Great
laugh.
story I read from George W. That he put out in an interview a couple years ago, essentially saying that when he was in trouble as a youngster, he knew who was going to give it to him when he got home, and it was her.
Yep.
And I just laughed that you're the guy who is one of arguably the most powerful man in the universe. Who is telling the story how his sweet little old mom that everybody in this country loved and adored as a sweet little old lady was the one who'd kick his ass when he stepped on the line as a kid.
That's
if that doesn't sum up, if that does not sum up what a great mom is in this world, nothing does.
And what a great mom should be also. And I was my thoughts and prayers and heart goes out to the Bush family as well. But what made me sick is that one asshole professor's comments
in
the Twitter sphere, and then throwing it up saying, well, I'm tenured, I can't be fired, I'm going to sit here with my $100,000 a year because people want to hear what I have to say, blah blah blah. What a piece of shit.
Yep.
And the school actually came out and was like, well, that's not necessarily
Funny
so.
you should mention that, because I have a story up right now about that very same thing. This is from Fox. It says, Fresno State says Barbara Bush bashing professor can be fired despite tenure. So I guess the fucking joke's on you, bitch.
Well, you know what? Life was the joke on her, and Twitter's going to be the punchline. And rightfully so, because she's a hateful, spiteful woman, and it's just terrible the things that she said was absolutely horrible.
Well, let's be specific.
Gentlemen, I have to fly. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, Sean, thanks,
I wish
brother.
you guys have a great show, and I'll talk to you soon.
You got it, bud. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for dropping in. Appreciate it. If you wonder what she said, and everybody is thinking about, okay, why are you
read it?
referring to this?
We'll go a minute over break.
Yeah, to this professor. What's the big deal? California State University Fresno campus is investigating after one of their English professors, she's just an English professor, tweeted she was happy about former First Lady Barbara Bush being dead just an hour after her passing was announced. Now, if that isn't in keeping with perfect leftist values these days, I don't know what is. And on the other hand, it's how sad is it that is in truth reflective of today's values for leftists? I don't know how more crass and craven can you get than some. I almost can't even fathom using the word. That person calling Barbara Bush that name, because here's why: it makes that professor feel good to say that. What's the point? That makes no sense to me. Folks, we're going to take a break. It's the bottom of the hour. You're listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny with Sackheads Clint and Sackheads BZ. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I like this. Just a jaunty little tune as we come back to Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's Wednesday night. It is April 18th, 2018. And we were talking about that stupid professor from Fresno State who said she was glad that Barbara Bush was dead. Just if you want to send her some congratulations or say, hello, I really like you. She's from California State University, Fresno, and her name is, I know it's here, Randa, R-A-N-D-A, Jarrar, J-A-R-R-A-R. And she happened to call Barbara Bush specifically, quote, a generous and smart and amazing racist who, along with her husband, raised a war criminal. And so she smashed it back into your face again amidst the backlash to a bunch of her tweets. She said she can't, this is a quote, she can't wait for the rest of the Bush family to fall to their demise, and she said she can't get fired from her job at Fresno State because she has tenure. And the quote again is, I work as a tenured professor. I make $100K a year doing that. I will never be fired. I will always have people wanting to hear what I have to say. And so that's the state of the art for discussion on university campi today all across the fruited plain, and particularly in California. Well, I call it fornicalia because it fucks everything up that it comes in contact with. And that just happens to be the truth. Okay, we've gone through that. We've gone through Barbara Bush. We talked to Sackhead Sean. Thank you, Sackhead Sean, for coming back. And I want to say, I was going to do this before Sean called in. I want to give props to Whiskey Dale in chat, who said he had, literally, a stuffed bobcat that he's going to send me for the Berserk Bobcat Saloon, and I can't wait. So, of course, when I get here, I'm going to display it, and I want to thank Whiskey Dale for thinking about me for the show. Now, having said that, tonight we also want to talk about Syria, because, as we all well know, not much has been going on in terms of Syria. So is there anything that you had to say? Because there are a ton of things that we both can say about Syria. Monsieur Clint.
Look, so the U.S., along with England and France, conducted strikes in Syria based upon the chemical weapons usage against citizens from the Assad regime. Syria is a big deal. And here is why I think Syria is a big deal. I think those that listen to the show are up on the Syria issue and the fact that there was an attack and so forth. But Russia being in Syria is potentially problematic for the U.S. They need the access, the open water access there. So they are utilizing their ports.
Right.
But here's why Russia's presence there is important, and why the U.S. Russian relations, particularly over Syria, is important, and how it can impact really the rest of the world, in particular the European theater. You had the CIA director Mike Pompeo came out on Thursday, and he admitted for the first time on the record, I think, that U.S. forces killed Russian soldiers.
Yes, they did.
Over in Syria, where he made a statement on the record. He made a statement where he said, quote, a handful of weeks ago, the Russians met their match, where he talked about a couple hundred Russians were killed there. And this was something he said to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So you have United States troops or United States forces killing Russian forces. So now kind of fast forward to, and there's my understanding is that there's attempts at deconfliction and so forth, particularly with air assets and whatnot. But here you have troops on the ground that were killed. The U.S. Prior to the U.S. and France and England launching an attack on the Syrian chemical plants, facilities, missile locations, the various target locations that they hit. The Russians said that if there is an attack, they are going to shoot down the missiles. And here's the key part: they also threatened to shoot down or to eliminate or attack the sources of those. That's important because where do those source? Those source from aircraft. Those source from ships, naval vessels. And so if the Russians are talking about not only going after the missiles themselves, but the sources of those missiles, they're talking about or threatening to attack United States aircraft, United States naval vessels.
And they had also moved out, I should care to point out, their fleet moved out of the Syrian port, which I thought, okay, that is a potentially very serious move, meaning that they meant to back up that particular threat.
Absolutely, or at least give the appearance that they were going to do that. Now, Putin has to be careful because he cannot appear weak. And so here you had the U.S., France, and England, Britain, that launched this attack. We don't have any information that any American aircraft or ships were attacked or destroyed. We have no information to that fact. So it doesn't seem that the Russians made good on their threat. But Putin has to be very careful not to appear weak, right? So Putin's kind of walking a fine line right now also. Nikki Haley is blasting Russia in the UN, as she should, basically telling Russia that they have to be careful of the friends they keep in the international community because they're finding themselves increasingly isolated, meaning the Russians are becoming increasingly isolated. But here's where this is important. If Russia does act, and Russia just came out today and gave another warning to another warning saying that, quote, chaos will ensue if the Western powers, meaning France, England, U.S., or whatever, attacks Syria again. That's problematic. So let's look at the potential issues here. Can the Russians defeat the United States in the Middle East or in Syria? No, they cannot. The Russians cannot defeat U.S. forces in the Middle East. The Russians do not have the resources there to do that. They will lose. But what can the Russians do? The Russians can screw with us and NATO in Europe. If
big time,
they can.
If you're going where I think you're going,
the Baltic states. So if Russia decides to fuck with us in Europe because they can't really screw with us in the Middle East, they're not in a position to do that. So if they start screwing around with NATO and go into the Baltic states, now we have a problem, okay? Because if those Baltic states mobilize, they're able to at least slow the Russian advance. NATO comes into play. Now you have NATO forces coming in and acting to take action in those Baltic states. And you have the makings of the largest ground war in Europe since World War II. Why is this important?
Oh, no reason. What the hell?
Why is this important?
Largest ground war.
So let's kind of play this out. And this was actually war gamed out a couple years ago in Washington, or just outside of Washington. So let's play this out. If Russia starts losing ground in Europe, Putin cannot afford to be presented as weak.
No, that's how he acquired power.
That's how he acquired power. So he cannot be shown to be weak. He cannot concede defeat. So if he starts losing ground in Europe and we start pushing the Russians back into Russia and perhaps even beyond, what is Putin's only response option?
Well, we know originally that Putin wants to bring the band back together.
They do.
He wants to bring the USSR back together, and he'll do whatever he can to do that.
So what if he's losing? What if he begins to lose that ground war in Europe, and now we're encroaching upon that Russian territory? What is his only option? It's a single localized nuke. That's his only option. It's either he can't concede politically in his country. He can't sign a truce, right? So that's his option potentially, and he's fucking crazy enough to do it, I think. And then what's the West's response to that? If Russia looked at which they did in this war game, if they launched one localized nuke for that area, killed thousands of our troops in that process, what's our response?
We would have no other. I can see that we would have no other. Well, okay, no. I back up. Let me back up here just a little bit. If it were Barack Hussein Obama, he might say that we'd have to take one for the team in order to quell things and tamp emotions down a little bit. Absent that, any other person would generally make a strike of a limited variety.
Yeah, but even so, what's a limited strike going to do?
The problem is that once you uncover the nuclear devil, you play hell trying to jam it back down the hole.
Yeah, and I don't know how you do that.
I'm not sure how you'd go about doing that as well.
So this is why Syria is so important.
Well, we talked during the show, and we're saying now that, and we'll go into North Korea in a little bit, but now we're saying that North Korea is kind of on the back burner a little bit because of some things that we'll talk about probably after the break.
Yeah, I don't know that it's on the back burner so much as...
But it's not number one right now.
No.
Now the number one concern is, what are you going to have in Syria in terms of this truly is, could be a proxy war with Russia and the United States of America.
And what do you have? What are the leftists saying? I mean, there was no choice but to strike Syria, right?
Well, here's did you notice the massive difference between about a year ago in 2017 when Trump decided that he was going to launch a bunch of Tomahawk missiles?
It was the Moab
at the Syrian air base.
It was the Moab, the mother of all bombs.
And even then, leftists and the Democrats were saying, okay, that's cool. That's all right. That's cool.
Yeah.
And now that Donald Trump has decided to do this, some are saying, oh, that's decidedly uncool. What the fuck changed between then and now? There's another dirty little thing that goes into the equation. How long is the United States going to have NATO behind it? And the reason I say that is because when you think about it, the UK is an island. They don't really have any natural resources. And where does, you're going to have to face this fact, the bulk of Europe gets its petroleum from Russia. So the big question is, how long will the United States continue to get support from NATO, from those countries, and the Baltic countries, Eastern Europe, not exactly quite as dependent upon that because they don't consume nearly as much as France, Britain, Germany, Italy, etc. So they are kind of beholden to the Russians. They can push. They can't quite push so much. So, Clint, what's the dividing line where the people in Europe, Western Europe, I should say, when they go, they get on the phone to Donnie Baby and say, today our jurisdiction ends right here. You're on your own, dude.
I think if Russia goes into the Baltic states, I don't think they do that. I don't think they can do that because they understand where they're.
If it doesn't go wacky, and we don't go nuclear, how long do we have Europe as backing our play? It's just a question I'm throwing it out
Which
there.
Country? Because I think it depends which country. I think
UK.
I think UK is going to back us because, particularly when you're looking at Donald Trump's energy policies, I think I think the UK is going to back us. The UK is going to back our play.
I would hope so because if
really believe
Putin decides to go in a different direction and his threats turn out to be, say, economic.
So
okay,
Germany,
how long will that last?
Germany. I don't think Germany would last long, potentially. France, I think that's just a matter of who's in power. I'm very
surprised.
surprised.
I am surprised.
France has been pissed off ever since they've been getting hit with the terror attacks. France has been handling.
They're starting to see the light.
Business. Yeah. Do you remember the what is it? The concert.
Yes.
It was after that is when they really got their shit together.
And they've outlawed the hijab.
Yes.
In France, which surprised the holy crap out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frankly,
France is. So I think we have France for a while. Other than that, yeah.
Here's something that the UK, or excuse me, that Russia put out. There's a Russian Defense Ministry spokesman, Major General Igor. Of course he's named Igor.
Of course.
Come on. He's Russian. Konashenkov provided this counter-narrative and provided absolutely no supporting evidence to it. But the funny thing is, when I tell you this, the American media maggots picked up on this stuff and they trumpeted it for quite some time. And what he says, let's see, it was 2 days ago when he said this. His remarks basically dispute every detail that the United States and France and Britain provided about the operation, including the total number of targets that American, British, and French aircraft and ships struck, and how many missiles they employed altogether. So basically what he was saying is that we shot down the bulk of your missiles, and you missed targets entirely, and this was an incredibly ineffective raid. And after that statement was made, I noticed the American media maggots picked up and just went rollicking on through with that.
Of course they did. They have to, right? Because Trump is making some major moves on the international stage. Now, could this attack have been more decisive? Absolutely. Should they have done what they did, what Reagan did with Gaddafi in the early 80s? I think so. I think one of these missiles should have gone right for the Royal Palace. That would have made a statement.
It's funny you should mention Gaddafi.
But I have to wonder if this wasn't the phone call. Hey, Vlad. Yeah, hey, it's Donald. Oh, thanks. I like your hair too. Hey, so we're gonna be blowing some shit up in Syria. I suggest you keep your people out of the way. Yeah, not gonna be good. Not gonna be good for you. Yeah, we're thinking about putting one right through the palace doors. Oh no, you wouldn't like that? Oh, you're gonna attack our shit if we do. Okay, how about we attack everything except the palace? Will you leave our shit alone and not attack my ships? You'll do that? Okay, cool. Make sure your guys aren't near these sites. Okay, bye. I think that's how that went, because I don't think Russia didn't do anything they said in terms of attacking those sources. I think if we would have gone after Assad, and if we would have targeted his residence or family or anything like that, I think the Russian response would have been more severe.
You know, the funny thing is, you're not the only one who said that in the past 5 days. There have been other people who have said and wondered specifically, and then came to your conclusion by saying, how strange is it that apparently Russia is not claiming that we killed X number more soldiers or people who were in the area, and we didn't hear that. We heard a lot of other things. You missed, we destroyed all your missiles, but we didn't hear about more Russian citizens being killed.
Yep.
And so some other people
or any civilians.
Or yes.
Right?
Yes, we didn't hear about you hit a baby milk factory like we did in Iraq.
Yep.
We didn't hear any of that stuff.
Nope.
So,
I think this was Putin telling Assad, "Hey jackass, don't be stupid. You're putting me in a bad position. You got your shit taken out. Your family is still alive. Shut the fuck up."
And then you always have to question timing. The timing, if you remember, go back about 3 weeks. Wasn't it about that time that Donald Trump was saying something similar to, I really think it's time that we move out of Syria, and just not too long after that, we had a gas attack. Did Assad do that because he felt emboldened by Donald Trump's statement?
Potentially.
I wonder. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, potentially. I still think Syria is very, very important, because if Assad keeps acting like an ass, I don't think I don't think Putin is going to handle it because he needs that port.
It's a vital
yes,
port.
Vital port. But I mean, look, the tricky thing for Putin is he has to back Syria's play, and there's other things he can do in Europe, and we talked about that, and that's why Syria matters for us. But why doesn't Putin just fucking take him out and instill somebody else in there who's not going to bring this much attention to him? He can keep the port. He is a puppet government. Because how much control does Putin have if this jackass keeps lobbing gas at his people?
Well, we had a pretty good idea who was going to be the backup squad for Saddam Hussein.
Yes.
I really don't have any idea who's in the number 2 spot. You know, who's the first officer
it'd be Igor.
Behind Assad.
Igor.
And that, I really don't know. I don't have any idea. This I found was an interesting article before we go to the break. We got about 2 or 3 more minutes before the top of the hour break. This was from a think tank, so to speak, and it leans fairly left. And it had an article that came out 2 days ago, and it said, Trump was correct to strike Syria, but he needs a more coherent strategy in the Middle East. And from let's be honest, this is sort of a left-wing think tank, although it features itself moderate, pretty much straight down the middle. It says, let's give credit where credit is due. U.S. President Trump set a red line and enforced it. Stop. As opposed to certain personnel, the previous administration under Barack Hussein Obama, who basically said, well, he didn't basically say, he specifically said there is a red line in the sand and I'm drawing it now. And his 2 buzz phrases were leading from behind and strategic patience. And now we have a foreign policy magazine, specifically foreignpolicy.com, saying that Donald Trump set a red line and he meant what he said. He warned the large-scale use of chemical weapons by the Syrian regime is going to trigger a U.S. attack. And then, oddly enough, it triggers a large attack. And they have the quote specifically of 59 cruise missiles that took out about 20% of Syria's operational aircraft. That was the first attack in 2017. And then a year later, almost exactly a year later, he responds a second time at the heart of Syria's chemical weapons program, which, oddly enough, the Russians say, oh, by the way, there's still a ton of this stuff left. I find it interesting that a foreign policy, specifically foreignpolicy.com, would even deign to give Trump any props whatsoever, which tells me, despite what the Democrats may be saying, and Tucker Carlson says we need to get the hell out of Syria. And I'll tell you what, I want to save that question to you specifically, Clint, when we come back. We're going to have to hit a break. And so I want to ask you specifically, when we come back, what do we do with Syria? Do we stay in Syria? Or do we just decide that, hey, you know, enough of this crap, we're going to get out? Folks, you're listening to Sackheads Against Tyranny. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same Sack time, same Sack channel.
Yeah. shrmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And you are listening to the Sackheads show. It's the Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's the second hour of the show. And we're back. Before we broke, I said that I would ask two Sackheads. Clint, I said, hey, I'm going to ask you a question. What the hell do we do with Syria? And maybe a little bit of an addendum to that is, you know, during the 80s when we sent our F-111s over, and we sent them over Turkey, boy, that was an issue even in and of itself, to drop a few friendly ammo-type hellos to Gaddafi in Egypt, and, in Libya. And the funny thing is, once we killed one of his sons, then after that... Yep. It was so odd. Libya was strangely silent for at least a decade after that, which was...
All Gaddafi did is come set up tents in Central Park and talk crazy gibberish for a couple hours. That's literally all he did. No,
that's true. He did come over to New York. I remember when he came over to New York, but essentially other than that, you didn't have to fuck with him because he was not attempting to go nuclear.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, during the Russian reset and the Middle East, I don't remember what Hillary Clinton called it. It wasn't a reset, but a new sunrise or whatever the hell it was. She decided, and the Barack Obama administration decided, that they had to specifically go out of their way to fuck with Libya and to fuck with Egypt. And Gaddafi, who was not stepping out of his sandbox at the time, not like any of these other guys are, certainly not like Assad, not like Khomeini had been doing in Iran, and certainly not like Hussein had been doing in Iraq. They decided to turn Egypt and Libya upside down. To what end? And so I just had to get that off my chest. But having said that, though, what do we do with Syria? Trump said he wanted to leave. I want to get out of Syria. I don't think we should commit troops to Syria. I don't think we should have an amazing kind of presence in Syria. So what do we do?
We have to stay in Syria. Look, how do you pull out of Syria? Look, Donald, I think you hit the nail on the head last segment when you said Donald Trump just spoke about getting out of Syria, and look what Assad does. Donald Trump doesn't screw around, and I think the world is starting to understand that. We'll get into Korea here in a minute.
Yep.
Assad understands that, but the moment he said, "Hey, we're going to talk about starting to pull troops out of Syria," Assad does something like this. So I think you are right on. We cannot pull out of Syria. At this point, there is still too much going on there, and you know, we just talked about last segment. Hey, why does Syria, why it matters? Yes, the conflict in Syria matters, but it also matters from a humanitarian standpoint. You know, the world got together after Nazi Germany and said, you know, hey, this will never happen again. We're not going to have leaders that the world will not tolerate leaders who are going to kill their own citizens en masse and do all of these things. So I don't know how we get out of Syria, particularly since a red line has been drawn and enforced again and again. Not while Assad is in power, or at least not without some serious assurances from the Russians, and with an understanding that, hey, we reserve the right to park lock here and to launch shit back into your country. So I think we stay in there, but look, if we pull out, it doesn't mean we don't have strike capability there still, right? Because we do. But Syria is kind of an important place to maintain a presence, in my opinion.
If we maintain a presence in Syria, and that would literally... okay, well, let me back up a little bit. Would that include what is known as boots on the ground? Do we put in more?
I don't think we put in more. I don't think we put in more at this point.
Or do we just monitor the situation from other countries, and when necessary, we can do whatever needs to be
I think we still
done?
I think we still need to operate there in terms of the airstrikes and as we have been. I don't think the mission there is complete. But I don't think we have to add more boots at this point. Look, if Assad keeps escalating this, then
that's another question entirely.
Then if Assad escalates this, and the Russians are backing his play, yeah, we may have to put more boots on the ground. And the dangerous part to that is now we now don't just have his citizens exposed to his biological weapons, but our troops as well. And then we have to escalate that, where if we're to the point where we're adding more boots to the ground at that point, and we're going to find ourselves in a proxy war with Russia, and maybe the fucker just needs to be taken out at that point.
This brings another question then. We already had one mass migration go into Europe, and Germany facilitated the event by saying, hey, come one, come all from Syria. And, of course, they got some loving terrorists in there from Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And if this continues... are we going to get a second wave of, quote, refugees, air quote, going into Europe once again? And if so, because Europe is finally starting to have a little bit of back chat against that situation. Germany certainly isn't as amenable as it used to be.
Nope.
Eastern Europe has said most definitely, most stridently, no, we're not taking any refugees. They're all going to be staying out of our country. If they get a second wave, then what happens? And further, I'm going to throw this out.
Throw it out.
Assad has done the wrong thing at the wrong time. Maybe I can understand the first time that he decided to do this last year to try to test Trump's mettle, but there was a response, and there was a response this time. So what the fuck do you do if this dickhead decides, well, all right, there's going to be another gas attack, and he pulls that off? Then what do you do?
If Russia doesn't deal with them,
I have my doubts that Putin is going to do anything about it.
I think you have to Gaddafi him. I think you have to go after him. You have to. I think that is the surest way to help save American lives, because the second we put even more boots on the ground there, I don't think we pull out, but we put more boots on the ground there to deal with it. We raise the stakes of getting into armed conflict with Russia there in Syria. That's a loss for Russia, I think, in the Middle East. But I think Russia, in retaliation, like we talked about before, they have the potential of doing something stupid over in Europe.
Let's look at this down the line, too. There are essentially only one really stable and one moderately stable country in the Middle East. And I'm excluding Saudi Arabia and maybe Qatar. And that
You're
would
excluding
be
Israel?
And no, I'm saying specifically Israel and specifically Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Surprising.
Yeah. So what happens when you've got now Putin trying to buttress Syria? Mm-hmm. Iran is going to get in on that deal. So how far do we let Syria go, and how far do we let Iran go on this?
We don't.
Because Iran has already said when that deal is off, if and when that deal is off, and it looks like Donald Trump is going to say, that deal is done. It is off. Iran has already come out and said, we can start enriching uranium in 2 days once that deal is concluded. Then what do you do?
I don't think we have to do anything. I think Israel will do it.
Because
there is no fucking way that Israel is going to let Iran go nuclear.
Whiskey Dale in chat says buy stock in Raytheon.
There is no way Israel is going to let Iran go nuclear, and I'm not suggesting we let Israel go it alone, but I think this dovetails, interestingly enough, into North Korea. We cannot deal with a nuclear North Korea and a nuclear Iran right now.
That was smooth. That was
really Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
That.
Thank you. Donald Trump has not said that the Iran deal is off yet. In my opinion, it's because he has not yet completed his business with North Korea. North Korea is now slated to talk with South Korea, and there's actually talk of ending the war. North and South Korea still exist in a state of war, and have since the 50s. They've just been in an armistice. But there is real talk now of potentially ending that war, and Trump has agreed to meet with Little Kim, and denuclearization of North Korea is slated to be, or at least is presumed to be, the primary topic of discussion. So if that's the case, and first of all, I thought it was interesting, President Trump came out today and said that if he feels that the meeting's not going to be fruitful, he will just walk. He will respectfully walk out. It's a wrap.
Yep.
But if he's able to denuclearize, to denuclearize? Is that what? How the?
It is
what
now.
am I trying to say? It is now, right?
It is now. It's a damn word right now.
That's a brilliant word. Write that down.
Sure, I think it's brilliant. It's
brilliant.
because you said it. Okay?
Thank you so much. If they're able to,
I knew what you meant.
Thank you. If they're able to take North Korea's nukes away, shut down their program, whatever it is, and end the war. God, first of all, what an accomplishment that would be, right? Truly.
Yes.
That would be a tremendous accomplishment.
Because it's been 60 years.
Yes.
And it's still official.
Yes.
The war has not ended.
Yes. I think it's a smart move for the North because their people are starving, so that would allow the South to help them. That would allow other countries to help them. It would probably lift a lot of sanctions. Little Kim would be smart to go down that road. It would do nothing but benefit his country. Once North Korea, and I think Donald Trump scares the shit out of him. I really do. I think he's seen what Donald Trump does in Syria when Assad fucks around, and I think Little Kim does not want to play. So if that's accomplished, then I think President Trump can go and deal with Iran. I think he's got a lot going on right now dealing with Syria, North Korea, and Iran. But there's no freaking way Israel lets Iran go nuclear.
I would agree, but let me throw this out in the mix because I didn't cover it, and when Sackheads was around, they didn't cover it because it occurred about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. Do you remember when that funny little green train moved from North Korea and then it went into China? And quiet. The little fat boy Kim Jong-un met with Xi Jinping,
yes,
the Chinese president.
Yes.
And I can distinctly remember looking and seeing a video and a couple of photographs of Kim meeting with Xi, and it was like son meeting with dad, and dad was kind of pissed off because the look on Kim Jong-un's face was, I'm in big trouble. Wouldn't you like to have been a fly on the wall? Since that happened, it seems that North Korea is starting to be a little bit more conciliatory. So did the riot act, the equivalent of the riot act, get read to Kim Jong-un, and he was summoned?
I think so.
He was summoned to meet Xi, and a little tete-a-tete, a little discussion ensued after he arrived. I'm curious.
I think so, and I think everybody is tired of dealing with Little Kim's shit.
Yeah.
He has been a pain in the ass of everybody in the area, and I think. Yeah, look, there was some speculation that China was there to kind of keep a hold of Little Kim and to tell him, hey, you remember who Daddy is, and we're.
I wish I could find the photo and put it on here right now. Yeah,
but we're the boss,
faces.
right? Uh-huh. I wonder. So there was speculation that the meeting was about, hey, yeah, you may meet with Trump, but we're the bosses, and you don't forget that. But I tend to go down the road of I wonder if it is a, hey, you will meet with President Trump, and you will give him these things, or you're not just going to have him to worry about, you're going to have to worry about us too. And I say that because do you remember when China put troops on their border with North Korea?
Oh yeah. And they wanted to make sure that this groundswell of people leaving from North Korea wouldn't creep over their border?
Yes.
You are absolutely correct.
Yes. So I think, but we said it on Sackheads, I said it on Sackheads, that China has to, they have no choice, they have to control Kim and play ball with him. China cannot afford a trade war with us. They can't.
No,
look how they responded to the tariffs and then back down.
Yep.
Right? They can't afford that. Donald Trump knows they can't afford that. They know they can't afford that.
They hold our debt. We hold their debt. And we're the number one purchaser of goods from China.
Oh, yeah.
For God's sake. here's another little aspect. Okay, if something ridiculous steps off in North Korea and everyone decides to flee from North Korea up into China, and by the way, people don't know this if they don't know their geography very well, but Russia also shares a limited border with North Korea. And if you remember back then, Russia likewise, during those times of turbulence, had troops on the border with North Korea. However, having said that, though, and I want to quote from a New York Times article in just a minute or two. Have we seen any more nuclear tests from Kim?
Nope.
We haven't seen one. Have we seen any more missile flights?
Not since he destroyed the mountain.
From...
on the Chinese border and had that limited release.
Yeah. So what have we seen from Kim? Any
Nothing.
more nuke tests?
Nothing.
Any more missile tests?
We've seen nothing.
So he's been relatively quiet, I would submit. Well, here's an article, like I said, from the New York Times. And it says, here it is. Mr. Kim told Mr. Chung and another South Korean official last month that the North was willing to give up nuclear arms if it received security guarantees. In the past, the North has said that a peace treaty and the normalization of ties with the United States would be among the security guarantees it would require in exchange for surrendering its nuclear program. Sub Rosa, I wonder if they're also saying, okay, we'll give up our nuclear program, but you also need to send us food, glass, cars, a few resources, and mostly food.
So, okay, so let me ask you a question. I know my answer to this. If North Korea came to President BZ and said, I will give up my nuclear program, I will sign a peace treaty with the South, I maintain my borders and my government, the South maintains their borders and their government, the demilitarized zone is a true border. It's not a demilitarized zone, but we agree not to have military or incur with or encroach within so many miles militarily of this border. In exchange for all of that, give us food. Give us X billion dollars a year in food, and we'll get some stuff from China. South Korea can help us with energy and with infrastructure, and we will do more of the Hong Kong Chinese model of communist capitalism, limited capitalism, whatever the model is they call it. The name escapes me right now, but we will do limited free trade and private company ownership to help build our country up. But we need this aid in the meantime. Would you do it? Is that a worthy expenditure of taxpayer dollars?
No. And President BZ says that because he goes back and looks at the history of North Korea. There could be a caveat, however.
Okay.
And this caveat would have a great deal to do with whether or not President BZ even begins to consider any kind of acquiescence, and that's this. We're going to have to go in and we're going to make sure that we dismantle your military. Your military is going to be dismantled. American soldiers or NATO soldiers, a coalition, are going to go in. We're going to look at your airfields. We're going to go through everything that you own with a fine fucking tooth comb.
China will never allow that.
And China will never allow that.
China will never allow that.
Because China will never allow North Korea and South Korea
to unite
again, because they will, as far as they're concerned...
Unless it's under the Northern rule.
Yes, because as far as they're concerned, now they have... Whereas they have a friendly puppet in North Korea, now as far as China would be concerned, they would have an enemy at their southern border.
Yep. So then what happens if they say, well, we will agree to dismantle our military and we will agree to a defense force like Japan has, because... even you in your Constitution, President BZ, recognize the natural right of all human beings for self-defense.
Right.
So we will maintain a defense force and sign this that we promise never to have an offensive, and we will allow We will allow UN inspectors with a representative of the United States government, as well as the Chinese government and the Russian government and the South Korean government to come in.
You're being very conciliatory. You're allowing the Russians in now.
To come in and inspect our facilities.
Wow.
Furthermore,
you are really going out of your way now.
Furthermore, we will allow flyovers of our airspace with your reconnaissance aircraft.
President BZ would have to consider that. Now, whether or not I go full tilt in with that, I'm going to take a wait-and-see attitude.
Now, what's President Trump going to do?
That's an excellent question.
That's why I asked it, and that's why this is Sackheads Against Tyranny.
That's exactly it. So, okay, well, so let's. I'll tell you what. For the time being, let's turn that laser beam focus back onto President Clint. Now, what would President Clint do in those circumstances if North Korea said the exact same thing to you that they had said to prior termer Sackhead BZ?
Well, I was Sackhead BZ's VP.
Yes, right.
And so I just happened.
A perfect succession was made.
Yes.
I mean, it was a very quiet transition from the BZ presidency to the Clint presidency.
Yes, it really was. And by the way, my media guy is Sackhead Sean.
Yeah, of course it would. You stole him from my administration.
Yeah. Only because I liked his Boston accent, where he's leaning up against the podium with a cigarette hanging halfway out of his mouth, and just being like, "That's a stupid fucking question." Next,
and he'd have sunglasses on too while he was doing it at the podium in the briefing room.
That'd be his look.
With a cigarette kind of drooping out of his mouth there a little bit. Because he's from Boston.
So which scenario? Because I gave you two.
Well, take the first one first and take the second one second.
You know, if it came to aid to North Korea.
It's clear. They need food.
It is. I'm very hesitant to give them dollars. It's kind of like a homeless. It's like a homeless person. Okay,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
I will not give a homeless person cash. Okay, there have been times in my prior life where I would very few times, and usually families with kids down on their luck.
Okay. All right.
But I have on several occasions bought food, and I have taken food. And look, sometimes, but that's also a test, right? Because you know who the real turds are.
Yep.
Because
if the people say, "No, man, I can't take food. I want the cash," blow me.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say to North Korea, you do all those things, I will give you food. I will give you X amount of corn. I will give you X amount of beans.
We got a lot of grain that we can ship over
X
there.
amount of grains. I am not going to give you meat. Sorry.
No.
We need that here.
We like my steaks too damn much.
We will teach you. We will send people over to help teach you how to grow food. We will help you in building your infrastructure along with the South, but we're not going to pay for it. You figure out how to pay for it, and you should have plenty of money coming in because we're going to release some of the sanctions against you, even though you've been a-holes for a long period of time. We're going to ease some of those sanctions so that you can start to feed your people, build infrastructure, and do some of these things.
So basically what you're saying is no Marshall Plan for them. It would not even go remotely as in-depth as that.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because it's not realistic. The Chinese will never allow that kind of U.S. influence there.
Or presence, yep.
Never. And so I don't even think you ask for it. Because I think that is such a non-starter that I think you're starting. I think that's such a maybe Trump. Look, Trump's the master negotiator supposedly, right? So maybe he asks for it. I am not that smart, so I wouldn't ask for it right away. I mean, there's no way. And do you really want that? I would say no. I mean, how do you have that? If you want to start that kind of integration, You can maybe do a Korean Peninsula defense force where maybe the North and South militaries are doing joint exercises for the Korean Peninsula. That in and of itself would make China shit itself.
ROK troops are badass.
So, yes, I would. Does that answer your question? I would give them food. I would give them food and knowledge.
Okay, that's the food aspect. Now,
no money.
Because
they're going to go out and buy nuclear crack.
Okay. Okay. So what about Plan B then?
Plan B. Look, I would demand dismantling of their program and inspections.
Okay, and how do you conduct that without offending China or without China saying, no, we're going to put our boot down, and you're not going to be able to do that?
I don't think China wants North Korea to have a nuke. I think China will say, hey, if you're going to have your inspectors there, we're going to have our inspectors there, and we're going to do a joint inspection, and I am totally okay with that. China, I don't think China wants a nuclear North Korea. They certainly don't want a U.S. military presence in North Korea, but I don't think they want a nuclear North Korea. I think they're pissed off at Little Kim. I think they don't like all this attention that's being thrown that way. I think economically China has been hurt as well. So I think for China to say, okay, we want to inspect also, why do I give a shit if they want to inspect also? It's not like they're going to change what our people see, or so I'm okay with that.
I'm still dying to find out what it was that the president of China just happened to say to
Little Kim. I wouldn't just want to be a fly on the wall in that meeting. I'd want to be a fly on the wall and know how to speak both languages.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Because otherwise I wouldn't know what the hell they're saying anyways.
Oh, true. We're past the break. We're going to hit a break and then come back for our final segment. You're listening to Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Folks, you're listening to the very last segment on Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's been a great show. Have really enjoyed it. This is only the second show that we have done. There, of course, will be shows every Wednesday right here on shrmedia.com on the SHR Media Network. And we talked about North Korea. We talked about the passing of Barbara Bush. We talked about
Starbucks.
Syria. We talked about Starbucks. We actually talked with Sackhead Sean.
We did.
Which was kind of a nice thing to see. Now we're going to talk about your favorite fella, yours and mine, Jimmy Comey. Because Jimmy is hyping his book now. I couldn't even tell you what it's called, and I don't care. Would it shock anyone to know that without even having come out yet, it's sitting at #1 at the New York Times bestseller list? I'm gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked that something like this would already be happening. A very interesting article came out today or yesterday. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But Jim Comey, look, folks, let me point this out if I can. I'm going to go to my camera. Look at the plate that happens to be right above my head, the license plate. That's from New Mexico. And if you haven't interpreted it, it says lawyer up. And the reason that plate is up there, it happens to be from the Breaking Bad series and also Better Call Saul. That's the license plate on Saul's automobile. And I brought that into the show tonight because, as far as I'm concerned, that's what the fuck James Comey should be doing right about now. Lawyer up. And there's a pretty good reason for that. And I would leave it for Greg Jarrett to talk about just why is it that Jimmy Comey, little 6'8", Jimmy Comey, maybe he needs to lawyer up.
In the federal regulations, Code of Federal Regulations, and the Privacy Act, as well as the Federal Records Act, anything that's in the course and scope of your employment is government property. And every FBI agent signs a document that says when you leave government, all of that is the government's to remain behind. You are not to take it with you.
So
Comey
stop.
took it with him. 7 presidents.
Yeah, but why are we talking about that? We're talking about that because James Comey leaked information to his attorney And it happened to be documents that he didn't have, that were not his, that did not belong to him. They belonged to the United States government. So essentially what happened is he stole 4 classified documents, which would make him essentially as guilty as Hillary Clinton.
Does it make any difference that he created the documents himself?
No. Everything you do in the course and scope of your employment.
Okay, let's stop there for just a second. At your job, let's say you create a program or a document or a series of documents, and then one day you decide that that work you're going to take and you're going to create a business around all of those documents and the program that you were paid money to make. Would your employer say, that's okay, you can have all those documents, you can have all that stuff, that's no big deal? And especially if they, oh, by the way, they happen to be really critical documents, maybe even proprietary, that some other company would pay a lot of money for. Do you think your company would be looking upon that with, oh yeah, that's okay, Clint, you can do that?
No.
Is government property. He was acting as the FBI director when he spoke to the president. He wrote about their conversations. It's clearly government property. And he stole that government property,
yes,
including, according to Senator Grassley, 4 classified documents, which would make him just as guilty as Hillary Clinton.
You're referring to the memos or something else?
I'm referring to the 7 presidential memos.
Okay, so let's talk about this just for a second. Now, this is talking about the leaks investigation, and this is Greg Jarrett essentially saying the same thing. And these apparently are concepts that Jim Comey just doesn't get. He doesn't understand.
The federal regulations, Code of Federal Regulations, and the Privacy Act, as well as the Federal Records Act, anything that's in the course and scope of your employment is government property. And every FBI agent signs a document that says when you leave government, all of that is the government's to remain behind. You are not to take it with you.
That's precisely my point. The point is that Comey is acting just like Hillary Clinton was.
Yes.
So
this is why he didn't think anything was wrong with what she was doing.
What is this guy thinking? This is the only... a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I worked for the FBI, and I also worked for the U.S. Marshal very briefly. So I have a little bit of an idea, and I still talk to people in the FBI. And
I'm sorry.
I know they're absolutely gobsmacked as to what happened to their FBI. But now everything is starting to fall apart, and the reason it's all falling apart is because of Hillary Clinton. None of this shit would have been revealed had Hillary Clinton won the presidency.
Hang on a second, PZ.
Okay.
They're falling apart because they're the frickin' FBI. I heard a vicious rumor that they are the only law enforcement organization not allowed in Fraternal Order of Police bars on the East Coast. There's a reason for that. It's because they're a bunch of fucking D-bags. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, I don't know if this has changed, but I can tell you that at one point, when the FBI was here in the county of Sacramento, anybody that was here that was an FBI agent had to go to the sheriff's department to get a CCW. I just happen to have it on pretty good authority about that. But the interesting thing is now, this article just came out in Politico today. Trump allies urge... This is so wonderful because, hey, Comey, this is why I say fucking lawyer up. Now, you've written a book documenting, and we have you documented on the record, having been sworn in front of Congress, telling a minimum of 3 to 4 lies that are, anybody can go to YouTube and find this stuff out. Now you've written a book and immured it on paper as well. And now, Jimmy, go find a good attorney, because 11 House conservatives are calling on Attorney General Jeff Sessions and FBI Director Christopher Wray to mount criminal investigations into a whole bunch of former Obama administration leaders and high-ranking DOJ folks. Let's see, that would be to include Hillary Clinton, James Comey, and Loretta Lynch. How sad is that? And they said, in doing so, we're especially mindful of the dissimilar degrees of zealousness that has marked the investigations into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the presidential campaign of Donald Trump. The lawmakers wrote in a letter released today by Representative Ron DeSantis of Florida. Then there was this article from the Washington Times, and I find this glorious as well because the gloves are starting to come off. This is great. FBI's Andrew McCabe. Now, this is Andrew McCabe, whose very own Inspector General went through the FBI's OPR, the Office of Professional Responsibility, and said that, in kind terms, that McCabe prevaricated, meaning, okay, McCabe lied and deserved to lose his job. Well, McCabe, in fact, then did lose his job. Now the gloves are coming off, and it's starting to be a little bit of a slugfest between good old Andy and Comey, and it's all about the media leak. Now, fired FBI Director Jimmy Comey went to bat for Andy McCabe on January 29th, tweeting that his one-time deputy director stood tall when small people were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on. But inside the Justice Department last year, the two men who had run the Bureau as a team before both were fired nearly a year apart were locked in a bitter dispute over who was telling the truth. They provided starkly conflicting accounts about a pivotal private meeting that helped lead to Mr. McCabe's firing. An investigation is found. McCabe's attorney basically accused Comey of lying, or at least lacking credibility, in testifying about a conversation the two had over a leak to the Wall Street Journal. In my 7 decades on this planet, I have never seen law enforcement agencies, particularly the FBI and the DOJ, leak to this amount, this effect. This is absolutely unprecedented. So the more that the alphabet agencies insist, and the leftists and the American media maggots and the Democrats insist that, hey, the alphabet agencies, they're absolutely apolitical and they're completely unbiased. Day by day, we're being disabused of that fact. We know Clapper lied. We knew John Brennan lied. And I would go so far as to submit that you could make a case for a conspiracy between these two people, the 3 alphabet agencies that I just named. Clapper happened to be Brennan was the chief of the CIA, and Clapper was the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, who was over Brennan. And Comey at the time, and perhaps even Mueller is linked in this inexorably, I would suspect. This stuff is all finally coming home to roost, and you're going to find people pointing fingers at each other all over this stuff. So, okay, then there was another story where Comey's original Clinton memo got released, and essentially it spells an FBI cover-up. So let's go back to 2016. In Jimmy Comey's original statement, which was attempting to close out that probe into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server, it was edited by subordinates to remove 5 separate references to terms like grossly negligent, okay, and to delete mention of evidence supporting felony and misdemeanor violations according to copies of a full document that was revealed. You have a background in common sense and law. I have a background in law. And you and I both know, because we've taken courses on this kind of stuff, that there are 2 types of crimes: crimes of general intent and crimes of specific intent. So when Jimmy Comey back in 2016 told me that Hillary Clinton, that he was not going to recommend anything to the DOJ, even though it wasn't his job to recommend or not. It was just his job to wrap up the package and ship it the shit over there.
Mm-hmm.
He decided that he was going to actively not advocate for an indictment against Hillary Clinton because, as far as he was concerned, she did not show negligence. In other words, that's right. She did not show intent. But the crimes that are involved, 18 U.S.C. 793 is a crime of general intent. You don't need to develop intent to be a violator of that crime. It's under the United States Code, and it's a felony. So the moment that Jim Comey told me that, I knew specifically that little Jimmy Comey was a lying sack of shit, and I could not believe anything that came out of his mouth after that. And I mean, nothing.
Well, there's a side issue to that also. The Justice Department could have said, "Thank you, Director Comey, for your media announcement. However, it's not your job to make a recommendation. So
it was not.
So get the fucking investigation over to us and let the big boys and girls make the decisions." But of course, Loretta Lynch didn't have the stones to say that either. You knew that wasn't going to happen. And instead she said, well, you know, even the FBI didn't think anything was here, so it's closed as far as we're concerned. I think Comey thought for sure Clinton was going to get elected.
Okay.
And he was going to be okay.
Oh, boy. You just took the words directly out of my mouth. And all of those people that were named, McCabe, Comey, Lynch, Obama, Clinton, Suzanne Powers, et al., all of those people, Strzok, Page, the list is endless. All of those people, I'm fervently convinced, were absolutely assured that nothing was going to happen because Hillary Clinton had it and their schemes were not going to be revealed in the slightest.
Yep.
And the cat shit in the punch bowl after that, and all of their schemes turned to crap.
Yep.
And here we are today. So we got about another 5 minutes or so. Jim Comey, do you think, Clint, that there are going to be any hearings into any of this stuff from the DOJ or the FBI, or is this all smoke and mirrors and bullshit?
I'd like to think there's going to be hearings and indictments, but here's the thing. It's all smoke and mirrors and bullshit. You remember Donald Trump on the campaign trail said, we're going to put crooked Hillary in jail?
Yeah.
Not a fucking thing has been done.
Yeah. And then
instead, his ass is being investigated. Is anybody going to have the balls to take Comey on? Trey Gowdy would.
Oh.
I think Trey Gowdy would. I think Trey Gowdy would be a hell of a pick for Attorney General when he's retired from Congress. But until that time, no, I don't think we're going to see anything. I think that we have a long-standing tradition of not going after our political predecessors.
Yep, BZ's DC axiom, exactly.
Yep. And that's true. So I think Trump has to. I don't think he has to be careful, but I think he wants to be careful. And I think we're to a point now. I mean, look, nothing fucking happened with Benghazi. I think we're to a point now where the election is 2 years old at this point. The email scandal is 3 years old at this point. People have forgotten. Our country has a short attention span. People don't give a shit. And it's sad, but it's true. But we call it out on this show because when the government is all powerful, that is called tyranny. And we are most decidedly against tyranny, to the point where we named our fucking show after the idea.
Well, and the sad thing is you had 4 Americans that perished in Benghazi, in Libya, and we couldn't even, during that amount of time, we couldn't even muster up the concern to go for an investigation into that. That in and of itself, even after Obama was out of power, it's completely forgotten.
Yeah, and a United States
so
ambassador.
It turns out
United States ambassador was killed,
ambassador,
and nobody was held accountable.
A representative of the United States of America.
Yes. A government official was assassinated.
Hillary Clinton turns out to be correct.
It was.
After all, what difference does it make?
Yes, it was an assassination. We had a United States dignitary, an ambassador, serving on post in another country that was killed as a result of a terrorist attack, and nothing was done. Not a fucking thing. As a matter of fact, there were stand-down orders that were given.
How sad.
And
yes,
nobody was held accountable.
And even those were refuted.
Yes. And nobody has been held accountable for that.
That's kind of a grim note. It's almost time to wrap this up. We wanted to get to another topic, which I think we'll probably roll over to next week.
Yeah, because I think that's actually going to gain some steam.
And I think you're absolutely right about that. So we're going to give you a little bit of a hint, boys and girls, as to at least one of the topics. No hint? No hint? Not one?
Let's let it hang.
Okay.
Let's let it hang.
We're going to tell you about the hanging topic, which is not unlike the hanging Chad that we're not going to tell you about because Sackhead's Clint doesn't want to tell you.
It's like a dangling participle, but I don't even know what a participle is. But
I don't know.
This topic is dangling.
Is it like an icicle?
Totally different.
That's
like a popsicle?
No idea. Okay. Well, I think this pretty much wraps up the Shot Show for this week. Thanks to Sackhead Sean for calling in.
Yes.
And thanks to everyone for listening.
Playing us out?
Yeah.
That's very nice music.
I like this music. It kind of wraps up the evening, and we get to say bye to everybody. And now that we kicked everybody's blood pressure up, we're trying to bring it down here a little bit. But
it's the therapy.
I know, it really is. It's like, okay, just remember, we're going to be here next week.
It's Shatapy. It's like the therapy.
I like that. Sackhead's Clint and Sackhead's BZ back next Wednesday right here on shrmedia.com. And my show is tomorrow night. And so don't miss it. Sackheads Against Tyranny next Wednesday. Aloha.